We'd like to thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us tonight as we celebrate the wonderful work that CARIE does to support elders. And this year, we are pleased to celebrate our past successes and a bright future as we thank Diane Menio for 34 years of service to CARIE and welcome Whitney Lingle as our new executive director. As I was driving here tonight, I realized when I first started emceeing this event 20 years ago, I didn't need glasses. So I guess, we're all getting a little older, and that's why CARIE is so important. I always tell people you're going to need them someday. So Whitney Lingle is a cultural anthropologist with 15 years of experience in human services work with a focus on food access and health equity. She has published in both academic and applied works, sits on the Pennsylvania Council on Aging, and has dedicated her life's work to her personal and professional mission to provide service to seniors and food equity and access to all. We're excited to welcome Whitney and look forward to supporting her vision for CARIE's next chapter in leading the best practices that allow elders to thrive in whatever setting they choose. It is my great pleasure to welcome CARIE's Executive Director, Whitney Lingle, to the stage.
All right, so as soon as we get my PowerPoint loaded on the screen, we only have about 80 slides to get through before we can go on with the evening, so don't worry. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. I'm Whitney Lingle, CARIE's Executive Director, with a personal and professional mission to improve and advocate for better services for older adults. I'm thrilled to be leading CARIE's outstanding team. I'd like to ask the CARIE staff to stand up and be recognized. Thank you for your work on this event and every day. Don't be shy, y'all. And to our host and everyone who made this event possible, thank you. Finally, CARIE's board members, please stand. I'm so glad you're on our team. I'm so glad we could come together this evening to honor Diane's legacy and look forward to CARIE's bright future. I'd like to start by recognizing our top sponsors. Our luminary sponsor, Mrs. Jacqueline R. Jefferson. VIP sponsor, Trinity Health. And our hero sponsors, Philadelphia Corporation for Aging, Joan Davitt, Carolyn Cristofalo and Ranu Matreja, and Donna Hill and John Wilson. In the coming months, we will see CARIE evolve with a new focus on outreach and community engagement, diversification of funding sources to ensure organizational sustainability, prioritizing mental health supports, seeking better nutrition in institutional settings and home and community-based services, working with lawmakers to dedicate more than just lottery dollars to this rapidly growing population, and a commitment to anti-racism and equity for all we serve, starting with a review of CARIE's current operations and policies and an all-staff training. I'm excited to give a glimpse of my vision for CARIE's future tonight by announcing CARIE's new program to advocate for older adults who have experienced domestic violence, led by our counselor, Molly Hunt. Because all populations grow older, aging is an inherently intersectional issue. CARIE's dynamic program range addresses every facet of aging to ensure support and empowerment for elders. Thank you again for coming and for your support. I'm pleased and honored to be here. We are so happy you're part of our community, and I can't wait to meet all of you in the coming weeks and months.
So once again, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Whitney to the CARIE team and wish her the very best as she leads into the future. We're so excited about CARIE's continued success and innovative new programs. Now I'd like to welcome CARIE Outreach Specialist and Volunteer Coordinator Lynn Kratz and Mrs. Jacqueline R. Jefferson.
Good evening, everyone. So nice to see you. When Peter joined the SMP at CARIE about a year before the pandemic, he was immediately obvious that he shared the same passion as SMP staff for the program's mission and for the well-being of communities throughout Pennsylvania. Peter has impressive knowledge, experience, and expertise on Medicare and Medicaid. As an SMP volunteer, Peter has covered nearly 10 different counties in western Pennsylvania by providing Medicare fraud prevention information. Peter also serves consistently on the SMP's Advisory Council, where he's been an impactful leader when advocating and strategizing. Peter's consistent focus on reaching community members who have historically been underrepresented truly invokes the spirit of the SMP and this award. And when Peter is not at a desk or on a phone doing PA Medi counseling or helping older adults during tax season, he's maintaining trails in the beautiful wild forest of western Pennsylvania. What sets Peter apart, though, is his calm, approachable demeanor. It's for these reasons that Peter is being recognized for his remarkable impact on not only his region of northwestern Pennsylvania, but throughout communities across the entire state. Peter's genuine caring nature embody the spirits shared by Jacqueline Jefferson, the honorable namesake of this award. Peter is one of those rare people who truly lives to help others. Thank you, Peter, for being such a wonderful volunteer, colleague, and friend.
I'm so honored to have been chosen as a recipient of the Jacqueline Jefferson Outstanding Volunteer Award. It's an unexpected surprise, and this setting is certainly that. As I said, unexpected surprise in my senior years that I can still do good things and make a difference in healthcare. My background, I have a master's in public health and was involved in healthcare most of my adult life. I was an HMO administrator, and even in the early 90s was involved in model senior care advantage programs. We didn't call it that then, and it was an experiment in California. But that's what I was doing, and I loved it. I got a little disappointed overall in the corporatization of healthcare, and I've had an opportunity to work through that largely because of SMP. All of us, and I represent, by the way, the CARIE SMP in northwestern Pennsylvania. It's a rural area with Erie at the top, and it's a wonderful place to be. All of us volunteers have received incredible professional training and support from Rebecca Nork and her staff. We have all grown from that support. I enjoy my time as a volunteer and value the CARIE message and the tools that I share with each group. We have open and honest discussions about issues that are personal to each senior. They learn the value of Medicare and have the tools to better protect their health care and their pocketbook. I've learned from the complexity and the importance of Medicare in each beneficiary's life and the value of SMP to them. They thank me for what I bring to them. So I thank CARIE for this opportunity. I'm honored and graciously thank you for the award.
Congratulations, Mr. Fitzpatrick. So now, Diane, we honor your service, and to help us thank you for your work on behalf of elders right now, it's my pleasure to introduce Peter Gartrell from Senator Bob Casey's office. Peter?
Hello, nice to meet you. And congratulations again to Peter, great name. And you're working on issues that are very important to Senator Casey, so thank you for your service. My name is Peter Gartrell. I'm a little bit taller than the last speaker. My name is Peter Gartrell, and I lead investigations for Senator Casey on the Aging Committee, which he chairs. I know Senator Casey would have liked to be here tonight, given Diane's long history advocating for the interests of older adults here in the Commonwealth. As I prepared for my first trip to Philadelphia working for Senator Casey in 2021, I asked my colleagues who I should see, and I think Diane's name came up about a half dozen times. Let me tell you what, that meeting was memorable. If Diane's name was a verb, I would say that I had been Dianed. Sounds like I'm not the only one. Ownership transparency, staffing standards, make oversight a priority, look at this law, fix that regulation, and can you get CMS to put out sub-regulatory guidance on that issue? That was pretty much how the meeting went in the basement of an office building on Market Street where Senator Casey's office is. I left with a laundry list of things to do to improve nursing home care. And it's really no wonder, based on that meeting and the interactions that I've had with Diane since then, that she was the first Pennsylvanian to be invited to testify before the Aging Committee when Senator Casey became ranking member in 2017. I talked to Diane before, and she said she was going to bring that up, and I scooped her on that, so sorry about that, Diane. Anyhow, at that hearing, Senator Casey thanked CARIE for its work helping older adults targeted for financial fraud. I actually kind of like this microphone better. And commended Diane for her service. She fielded questions from nearly every senator who attended the hearing, which just for folks who haven't watched a hearing, that doesn't happen very often, and I really think it speaks to the respect she commands in every room that she enters. It takes a special breed of person to do the work that Diane has done, always putting the interests of older adults first. And I want to also say that it takes a huge amount of gumption and guts and everything else to try to fill those shoes, and I know that Whitney, from speaking to people on the board, is going to do that. They have a huge amount of confidence, so congratulations, and we look forward to you continuing that work. Some of you may remember after Senator Casey, when he was Auditor General, when he issued a report in the 90s on nursing home oversight here in Pennsylvania, that a nursing home called Cobb's Creek closed. And it was the first nursing home that had been closed in almost a decade. And I think that there were probably some people who may have almost celebrated that, but Diane was not someone who celebrated it. She saw that there was a need for more oversight, but she was also very concerned about what it meant for the residents, these people who had been effectively evicted, as the Inquirer put it. She was quoted at the time as saying, the answer is that society has to take responsibility, and that's not happening. We're not seeing public money coming out for these things. Money must go into care, into oversight. A quarter century later, when I've met Diane, she delivered the same message to me, and I know it's a message that resonated not only with me and the other members of our staff, but with Senator Casey. Under Diane's leadership, CARIE grew into an organization doing indispensable work. Thank you to all the staff, all the board members, all the supporters here tonight for the people of Pennsylvania. One board member told me this week that they joined CARIE in part because of the difficulty they had navigating aging services as a lawyer. Imagine for a moment not having a law degree, living in unstable housing, relying on Medicaid instead of long-term care insurance. For 34 years, Diane fought the fight for those people who did not have the resources to fight that fight for themselves. Diane has pushed public officials to keep their eye on the ball when it comes to nursing homes, financial fraud, and other issues facing older adults. And in her retirement, she's taking lots of time off by serving on 3 boards, including one that she shares. So for that service and for those 3 boards, I have 3 gifts. First, let me get out my gifts. Remember that 2017 hearing? Here's a transcript. You can check the transcript yourself. Second, since we met in 2021, Senator Casey has put out not 1, but 2 reports on nursing home oversight. Here's the first one, and here's the second one that he put out at a hearing just last week. And third is a letter from Senator Casey. Now, one side note on this, I spoke to Diane beforehand, and apparently she's already gotten a letter from Senator Casey. And how many people at their retirement get 2 letters from the senior U.S. Senator from Pennsylvania? I think that you can count that on one hand. But in all seriousness, Diane, you've been a treasure to work with. I've only been here for a short time, and there are a lot of people who have worked with you for much longer. Thank you for everything that you've done for older adults in Pennsylvania, and we wish you the best in retirement, even if that just means you're going to work on more boards. Thank you.
Now please welcome me in joining Karen Buck to the stage to read a proclamation from Chief Justice Deborah Todd. Karen.
Thank you, Jim. It is such a pleasure to be here to celebrate my dear colleague, partner, and treasured friend of 25 years, Diane Menio. Can we give her a round of applause? Yes. Woo! There she is over there in turquoise. I could talk for hours about Diane, but I obviously will not tonight. She is just an exceptional advocate. She is strident, zealous, inspirational. She speaks truth to power. We heard it at the U.S. Senate. We hear it in the halls of Harrisburg. I've heard it all over Washington, D.C., and all over Philadelphia, and in fact, all over the nation. Diane does that, however, with diplomacy, with dignity, with professionalism, and with grace. And those are qualities that are very rare in a leader, particularly in these times in our country. And I want to applaud that. Diane have traveled throughout almost all 67 counties of Pennsylvania, setting up new victim services programs for older Pennsylvanians, trying to get away from this verb, and all the way to the hills of Tuscany, Italy, where we spent a week with her beloved sister, Susan and my family and friends, and you can bid on that tonight, so I encourage you to do so. It's just been such a joy in my life to have her as my workmate and my everyday colleague and my dear treasured friend. She's the sister that I never had. One of the great initiatives that Diane and I have had the pleasure of working on has been with the Pennsylvania Supreme Court and their transformative elder justice initiatives. Diane and I had the privilege and pleasure of being invited to and traveling to Pittsburgh in January for the installation of Pennsylvania's first woman Chief Justice in its 300-year history. It was quite a historic occasion, and I will tell you that Chief Justice Deborah McCluskey Todd, who's based in Pittsburgh, is one of Diane's biggest fans. So tonight I'm very pleased and privileged to present a proclamation from the Pennsylvania Supreme Court in celebration of Diane's leadership and advocacy. Whereas the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania is pleased to recognize individuals who, through their laudable tenure of service, contribute in a meaningful way to the well-being of their communities, this court, and this Commonwealth, whereas Diane Menio is worthy of honor and recognition for her distinguished service to the people of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, especially the older adult and advocacy communities, whereas Diane has spent her professional career in service focused on protecting and advocating for Pennsylvania's most vulnerable at Northampton County Human Services, the National Multiple Sclerosis Society, and the Center for the Rights and Interests of Elders. Whereas Ms. Menio has served as the Executive Director of CARIE for almost 30 years, where she has been a strong advocate for protections against elder abuse, for guardianship reform, and ensuring the system protecting and providing for the needs of elders works for all people. And where Ms. Menio is also a valued member of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court's Advisory Council on Elder Justice, where she has worked collaboratively to present recommendations to the executive, legislative, and judicial branches, the federal government, victim services providers, bar associations, and the public to enhance and improve the lives of older Pennsylvanians. And now, therefore, the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania recognizes Diane Menio as a tireless advocate on behalf of older Pennsylvanians and a friend to the Pennsylvania courts, and wishes her the best in her well-deserved retirement. Signed, Chief Justice Deborah Todd.
Thank you, Karen. Appreciate it. Put this up. Diane, here, put this in there. I don't want you to... Make sure it's protected. Yes, exactly. Okay, at this point, we'd like to ask the President of the CARIE Board, Donna Hill, and past President Carolyn Cristofalo Ford to present Diane with a gift honoring her service. Donna and Carolyn.
Just making sure everything's here. This night is about legacy. And as we've already heard, Diane's not going anywhere. She's still working for seniors throughout the nation. So that's not stopping. What is changing is that she's taking everything she is and spreading it wider. So we stay here as the champions of her legacy. And this is the first time Carolyn and I have hung up at front together. It's kind of funny. Anyway, we want to, on the behalf of the board, the staff, and every person who has benefited from your care, your insight, and your leadership, pleased to present you with a token of our appreciation for your time, tireless passion, and service to and on behalf of CARIE. I'd like to everyone to please join me in standing and recognizing Diane as she approaches the stage. I want to share with you this is a gift. She'll look at it. She'll know what that is later. But we wanted a picture that would capture Diane and her passion for us. So this is a picture of Diane with a former consumer, board member, and someone very special to Diane, Arnold Phillips. And I just love this picture. So anyway, thank you for everything. Okay, thank you. Put your stuff away. I think Mark, here, we'll put your stuff away. We'll put your stuff away for a minute. Mark took that picture. Oh, did he? That's okay.
That brings back really some good memories. Arnold Phillips was in a nursing home, and some of you knew Arnold. He was in a nursing home from the time he was about 45 years old because he got hit by a car. And that's what happened back in sometime around 1970 when that happened to him. But he was always at our board meetings. He was in a wheelchair, and he was always there. And you can see, he was like my best friend. And so that means a lot to me. Thank you so much. But I do have a few words, because I know there's so many people that I need to thank. Is the sound okay? Okay. Okay. It sounds funny to me, that's why. But if you don't hear me or it's making funny noises, let me know. First of all, this gift is amazing. There's something else there, too, that I think I'm going to be happy with as well. But I had only a quick look at that. But thank you so much to the board and everyone else who spent the time and really put some thought into what I said. I hope they're not giving me a plaque. I left some of those behind, by the way. I took some home, but but thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I have to say, it's just been a pleasure for all these years working with people like Donna and Joan Davitt and all the people on the board. And some of you are newer to the board, but I got to meet Doug in person tonight. And it's just wonderful to see everyone here tonight, people from the staff, our former board members like Jean Bissell and Dr. Cavish over there, who I haven't seen in I don't know how many years. But it's just amazing, and I thank everyone who's come out here tonight. My family, I will say my husband, he's the one with the camera, by the way, because he always has to work. In fact, he took that photograph. And so that's why it looks so good. But anyway, my husband and my daughter Maddie is here somewhere. She grew up at CARIE. When I had Maddie, I went back to work after 2 months, I think, 2.5 months. And our receptionist, I'd be in a meeting, and B would have her in the little bed in my office. And she'd say, "Don't worry, I'll come and get you if there's any problem." But she was in good hands with B. So she grew up. She grew up at CARIE, and I do remember one time I said to her when she got a little older, I said to her, "Well, what do you think? Do you want to do what I do when you get older?" And she said, "No way." I said, "But I'm a boss. Isn't that something you'd like?" Nope, that's not for her. But anyway, she's doing wonderful things anyway. But I want to talk, first of all, I must talk because there's some people here who knew Bernice Soffer and many people who didn't. And I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for Bernice Soffer, who was the founding executive director of CARIE. Her family's here today. Are you still here, Eddie? Eddie, well, it's a bigger family than Bernice knew she had because Eddie's here. And also her granddaughter, Molly. And Molly has a little baby in her arms right now. And so Bernice would have been a great grandmother. That would have made her so happy. There he is. That's Leo, by the way. And Molly actually did grow up at CARIE. She was 2 years old when I started at CARIE, and she was there all the time. I was just recounting a story. Our caregiver, B, who was our receptionist, took Molly out for a walk and got mugged. Thank goodness Molly was fine and she was fine, but it was an experience. B was an experience, by the way. Some of you knew her well. Anyway, I just want to I have to thank Bernice, who was my mentor, and my friend. I mean, I worked with her for a little more than 6 years, but I knew her for 30 years. Those 30 years, she was a mentor in the beginning. She was a friend. She was always interested. I remember one time after she was retired, she said, "Next time you have to testify at the state, take me with you." So I stopped by Westchester, and I brought her along to the hearing, and I did my testimony, and she sat there in the audience, and she beamed. It was like, she was like my mother. You know, it was like, she was so proud. She said, "Oh, you're so good." So that meant a lot to me, because it was an interesting time starting at CARIE, but it's been such a wonderful experience, and there's so many people who have made that possible. I just want to talk about a couple of the things I'm very proud of that have happened in the 30, and then there's no way I can talk about everything. But just there's thousands, if not millions, of people who've been helped through the kindness and strong advocacy of the staff that we have. Lori Walsh is here somewhere. I don't know if Rebecca's here. There are program leaders. And I can't recognize everyone, but I will say that we have a wonderful staff at CARIE, and I feel that was one of the reasons I could leave. And so the work goes on. We also, and I'll mention Beth Hudson-Keller, who's somewhere here, I think. I hired her the first year I worked at CARIE, and we developed an abuse prevention training program that's been replicated in every state in this country and across the globe as well. And it changes people's lives. And so we've really had an impact on so many people, the care that people were getting, and helping people do a better job. The opportunities I had to do that kind of testimony that Peter talked about, it wasn't amazing, and now I have a transcript of it, and I will keep that. And so that was amazing. And I will tell you that I had Senator Warren, Marco Rubio sitting there shooting questions, and many others shooting questions at me in quick fashion, and I had to work on my feet. But it was a wonderful experience. But I have to also mention somebody who's not here tonight, but has made a lot of the policy work that we do possible, and that is Kathy Cubitt, who actually has a longer tenure at CARIE than me. Yeah. I wish she were here to hear your applause. But Kathy started working at CARIE a year before I did. And we've worked together as a team all these years, and she has a brilliant policy mind. And I can do okay, but Kathy is amazing. So without her, I wouldn't have been able to do all the things I do in policy. And so, and I wanted to mention a couple other things, but I think I'm going to cut it short. Someone mentioned reforming guardianship, Karen did, and I'm still working on that through the Supreme Court. And I will say the Chief Justice, when I said I was retiring, she looked at me and she said, "You don't have to retire from us, do you?" And so I'm going to hang around there for a little while because there's still a lot of work to do. But about 10 years ago, I worked with some other people who are here, Alyssa Halpern, Jenny Campbell, and Karen Reaver, to do a statewide study on guardianship in Pennsylvania. And that sort of was, I wouldn't have been asked to work with the Supreme Court if it hadn't been for that report that we did. And so it's going to take a long time, but we're going to get something done to make that system better. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, and I don't think she's still here, we started this fundraising event about 15 years ago. It was an idea that one of our board members had, Willow Carey, who used to be with WHYY. And we went to see Susan Sherman at the Independence Foundation. And she was here tonight, if she's not still here. But she said, well, you have to do a fundraiser. You have to do something. And so what she did was she said, I'll host it here. I'll pay for everything. And you just come and put a good event together. And we had it in her office for 2 years, and then we moved it into our office, and then we moved it all over the place. And this is our second year here. But I will say that last year we raised $200,000 at this event, which was a record. And the reason I mention that is because I want you to make a better record this year. And I'm talking to all of you here. And so I hope that you can help us raise more than that this year. I think you can beat that. Michelle Mathis is somewhere here who has worked very, very hard on this event. I don't know where she is, but thank you, Michelle, for all the work. She did a lot of work last year and this year, and I really wish success. I also have worked with so many different partners at Community Legal Services, of course, with Karen at Senior Law Center. I don't know if everyone knows that we shacked up together about, 8 years ago, I think. And so it's been a wonderful partnership with her. Pam Walls from Community Legal Services is here somewhere as well, another great partnership. I just want to finish by saying a couple quotes. First of all, I want to quote Ralph Nader, somebody who also, Ralph Nader, I just want you to know, had a role in starting the National Citizens Coalition for Nursing Home Reform. And so he cared about a lot of different issues and wanted the world to be a better place. What he said is a leader has the vision and conviction that a dream can be achieved. He said he, but we're going to say they, inspire the power and energy to get it done. CARIE has been that leader in the field, and I think we will continue to be that leader. And going a lot further back, I'm going to quote Michelangelo, who said, the greatest danger for most of us is not to aim too high, and we miss it, but that it is too low and we reach it. So we want to keep reaching high. And I wish Whitney, the board, staff, our volunteers, much success as CARIE continues to aim high. Thank you very much. Thank you.